It's the time of the year when everyone's doing Christmas game reviews and such, so rather than review, I wanted to share a few less often talked about, forgotten or ignored Christmas games on various systems with you. Also, more importantly, I'd like to thank you for sticking with me this whole year, and wish you all Merry Christmas and an incredible peaceful time spent with your close ones, be it family or friends. And even if there's no one there, know that I wish you all the best and that you're not alone. Take some time to relax and do something you really enjoy. Alright, before I lose you all, let's check the games out. Santa's Xmas Caper is a holiday-themed platformer. After a heavy night of drinking, don't fact-check this, just trust me, it happened. Santa, after all, likes to spend some time socializing with the elves. So, riding/flying his sleigh, under the obvious influence, Santa lost all of the presents. It's a tragedy, it's a nightmare, it's countless extra psychiatrist visits for millions of children all around the world. Possibly incurable trauma too. Unless, that is, he manages to recover them all in time for Christmas. So, you playing as Santa must traverse through a series of always scrolling levels, locating and collecting all the lost gifts. Whenever all are picked up on a particular level, the exit leading to the next opens. And since Santa lives far from a nearest good pub, at least the one that elves like to frequent, there's 7 of these stages to complete. Naturally, all is not as easy as I made it out to be. There are spiky pitfalls everywhere, enemies are plenty, and while they may look cute, they are in fact deadly. So, to pass them, our red-nosed hero will have to temporarily stun them with stone-loaded snowballs. If he manages, however, to complete all 7 levels and grab all the gifts along the way, you'll have a far less explaining to do to your kids. So, waste no more time, grab a joystick and save Christmas once and for all. Christmas Nights into Dreams is an unusual title for this video. Why? Because it's not actually a full-fledged game, but rather a demo that was added on to cover discs of various magazines as a playable ad for the regular Nights into Dreams, and it's been remade to feature Christmas decorations. But not only and not really. I know, confusing. In actuality, it's much more. Because despite the title, the game actually changes decorations throughout the whole year according to the current at the time season. It covers most holidays throughout the year and even features unique small touches during some of these minor ones, like April Fool's Day for instance. So, as a novelty, Christmas Nights into Dreams is definitely special, even if for the most part just one level from the full game. It's not a small level, mind you, but however you want to look at it, not a complete game. There are some things other than the changing seasons that prolong the game's stay though. Things like unlockable artwork, promotional movies, Sonic as playable character, 2 game modes, time attack and link attack, and that's not even all. The more you play it, the more you find. Question is, how long can you play a single demo, feature rich or not? In the end, while Christmas into Night Dreams may just be a small chunk of a much larger action arcade game that I somehow always think of as a platformer, when in fact it's not one at all, it's definitely a game that most other demos should learn from, in terms of how to present the content, how to keep it varied, and how to spark an interest in a full product. Truth be told, the official Father Christmas originated on C64 and not on Amstrad. But since C64 has a much wider selection when it comes to Christmas games, this one's the one I've picked for Amstrad. And it's a mixture of flip-screen platforming with some side-scrolling stages. Though I have a sneaky suspicion about those scrolling sections that I will cover a bit later on. So, you obviously play as Santa, and on the Christmas Eve, as you do, you rush to deliver presents to all the kids. Correction, all the good kids. And it's not gonna be an easy one, as you only have 24 hours to cover the whole world. You start in a flip-screen level, searching for and collecting scattered pieces of your sleigh to rebuild it. Personally, I blame the elves. They should have made sure to assemble the sleigh and run series of maintenance checks on it weeks ago ahead of Christmas and not leave it for Santa for the last minute. Even if they were too busy to do it themselves, they could have at least let Santa know so he'd had time to prepare. But whatever, elves are known to have some serious drinking problems, so I shouldn't be surprised really. Sadly, that's not all of your troubles, as while you go about reassembling the sleigh, elves run around maniacally, and if you touch any, they knock the piece you found off your hand and you have to find it again. When the sleigh is complete, you have to pick 6 presents from the list and then collect them as they fall from the top of the screen. I bet that it's another of those smart elven ideas, that instead of taking them straight to Santa, they prefer to throw them so that the old man could get his cardio in and run around grabbing them before they hit the ground, exploding in 1,000 pieces. Pesky elves. Finally, when that's done, you can jump into your sleigh and fly around the world delivering presents by dropping them into houses with parachutes. Your targets are indicated with arrows. Naturally, clouds and aeroplanes can knock the presents off the course, so you have to drop them, taking these and their movement into account. That last delivery level is supposedly side-scrolling, but if you take a closer look at it, it feels like the Santa sleigh is stationary in the middle and it's the line of buildings at the bottom that are moving on a static screen. So it may be a trick and not a true scrolling. I mean, I'm not an Amstrad programmer, so I cannot confirm it 100%, but it definitely feels like that. Also, and that's the last thing that I'll say about the game, the graphics seem to be ported directly from Spectrum. Good or bad, whatever, that's how they look like. Tim Burton's The Nightmare Before Christmas, UGs Revenge, is a third-person action-adventure based on the characters from The Nightmare Before Christmas movie, and it serves as a sort of interactive sequel to it. As with most things that Tim Burton had touched, the presentation is very unique and in his typical comedic versus macabre mixture style, with a lot of dark and grim, but also overdrawn features and shapes. If you've seen any of his movies, you should be able to pretty much pick any other from many based on the style alone. In the game though, you play as Jack Skellington, the Pumpkin King, and you must find a way to reclaim back Halloween Town after the townsfolk put Oogie Boogie back together when you've been away. Since Oogie Boogie, a villain of the game, is an Iron Fist ruler, you have to take it upon yourself to get rid of him and his lackeys and save the town too. Interestingly enough, how you fight Oogie's henchmen and eventually him too is via a rhythm minigame, where you are required to perform perfectly timed button presses. It wasn't a commonly used mechanic then, it's not one now, so it's always fun to have it appear here and there in a random game, like the one we're talking about today. Additionally, our hero has a whole slew of special abilities which are locked off under different costumes, so depending which ones he's wearing, it will allow him to access a set of new skills. For instance, the Pumpkin King costume grants fire breath and Santa Jack unlocks throwing explosive presents. UGs Revenge is plenty enough different from the movie to warrant a fun playthrough, and 24 levels should last a little while too. So all young players will no doubt enjoy it all the way to the end, and the older ones may appreciate it for its uncanny and very graphically satisfying presentation too. While it's perhaps not the greatest 3D arcade game out there, if you keep in mind how movie license titles tend to be absolute stinkers, you gotta appreciate UGs Revenge for not following the suit and being pretty decent. That said, given how little extra content there is in the game, other than the few secret areas, I really see no reason anyone would have to ever replay it, other than maybe perfecting the scores on some of the boss battles. Now, for Spectrum, I've chosen a very specific game, Maria's Christmas Box. And what is Box supposed to be in this one? It's hard to tell, but it is what it is. And for all intents and purposes, it's a strip poker game. Only not really, as Maria never fully undresses. That said, to be on the safe side, almighty gods of YouTube, don't worry your generous and understanding self and don't smite me preemptively, as there will be no nudity of any kind in this video. Not a single booby will slip from my fingers and land on the viewers' screens. So, the game in subject is a Christmas-themed poker against Miss Maria Whittaker, a well-known UK model in the 80s. It starts with both of you fully clothed and hopefully you'll remain so till the very end of it. Cause you know, you don't really have to take anything off when losing in a video game. Anyway, you're playing 5-card draw, the simplest, most basic and also traditional version of poker. Now, personally, I'm a huge fan of Texas Hold'em and I love it to bits, but I understand how a classic one is a more suitable choice for this kind of gameplay. So, you'll bet, you'll raise, you'll exchange cards, from time to time you'll probably even fold, and you'll keep playing until Maria's fully unrobed. Not naked, mind you, just removes bits and pieces of her Santa outfit. And that's pretty much it. Nothing more to it. Oh, there are two difficulty levels, easy and hard, but for the most part they dictate how often Maria will bluff and how aggressive her bets will be. It may influence the draws too, but it's not something you'll notice, so I can't confirm or deny it here. Perhaps a game with a model dressed in a Santa suit is not really a Christmas title, but it is in the spirit of Christmas, cause it has a beautiful lady, red suit and even something to hope for, so I am not removing it. You can't make me. YouTube can, but you can't. Please don't try. Thanks. Happy Land Adventures Xmas Edition is basically the basic version of Happy Land Adventures, but with a new and exciting set of winter and holiday themed levels. So you could say that it's a Game of the Year edition, as it contains everything the base title had and more. Kinda like my curry when I make it. It has everything a curry should have in and more. Usually what I find around the fridge and can't judge the age of by just looking. So, Happy Land Adventures Xmas Edition also comes with a built-in level editor, allowing you to create and play countless of your own or downloaded off the internet creations, and trust me, if you give it a minute to find them, the net is overflowing with levels for the game. So, to summarize, other than the theme, Xmas Edition plays exactly like the original, with some extra features, So you run around the levels, collecting bonus items and finding cutesy animals that need to be then escorted to the safe zones. And when plenty enough are saved, the door leading to the next stage opens and you can proceed. And the keyword here is can, because you can always stay on them for as long as it takes you to 100% them, as any good completionist would do. Happy Land Adventures, in both this and its original outing, are excellent games that may not look like it on the first glance to hardcore PC gamers, dripping with colors and cute all around, but they're really excellent, fun and relaxing titles to last an afternoon too. Special Delivery Santa's Christmas Chaos is a very basic arcade game, kinda like me, a very basic dude. Not really arcade though. Anyway, just because that the game's simple doesn't mean that it's bad, and for the time it released in, and around Christmas, it's actually a fun little title to fire up for a few minutes of silly action. You obviously play as Santa, and that's gonna be a reoccurring theme, so get used to it. And you ride in your sleigh that's weirdly not pulled by any reindeers, and just suspended in the air, collecting presents that are dropped by your helpers. Now, why do they drop them like that willy-nilly is beyond my means of understanding. Perhaps they're freshly made and this mode of delivery is something that's Santa's equivalent of UPS, or perhaps the reason is different. We will never know. Anyway, while you do that, you have to avoid all the clouds and mountains, cause as we know they are the Santa's biggest enemy, and if there ever was a Christmas that you did not get anything, you can bet the reason were either mountains or clouds. It's a common knowledge among all Xmas fans. Or, and that's a feasible explanation, you've not been good that particular year. But knowing you, you definitely have, so it had to be the clouds, right? So, you collect the presents and avoid fakes dropped by the Red Devil, cause they're nothing more than the self-igniting nicely wrapped dog poop traps. If you collect plenty enough of the real ones, you can land on the house to deliver them yourself. If you don't have enough though, all you can really do is drop them down the chimneys while flying. When you go down the chimney, you have to dodge flames from below and snowballs dropping from above. When inside the house and out of the chimney, you can finally leave the gifts under the tree and find and collect the door key to leave. Make sure not to wake up any sleepwalking kids, as if you do, it will mean that your delivery has failed. Special Delivery Santa's Christmas Chaos, other than having an incredibly long title, is pretty fun, even if a bit simple, and well worth having a go at least once a year around Christmas. Days Before Christmas is a twofold. Really weird and also surprisingly easy. So it's clearly aimed at a younger audience who won't question the disturbing oddities galore and will enjoy it not being too difficult. It is also an action platformer in which you play as Santa obviously. Story-wise, all the presents and elves disappeared as you were napping. They were stolen by the evil snowman, Loose Mouse, Mr. Weather and the Timekeeper. If there was a Gozer there somewhere too, I would have sworn that there'd be a Vigo the Destroyer as well, just waiting to jump from an old painting and take over New York. Not the case here though. So, to recover both elves and gifts, you'll need to platform your way through 24 loosely Christmas-themed levels, such as gift factories, elves' workshops, caves and others. These are obviously chock full of enemies, villains like evil penguins, jack-in-the-boxes, snowmen, helicopters and others, all following the classic 8-bit game logic. And you can defeat them by smiting them with your Santa magic, which for the sake of all kids everywhere, I really hope is not the same as the Catholic Church priest's magic is. Terrible joke, I know, sorry. Every few levels or so, you'll fly all over the world dropping presents in chimneys instead of platforming. You know, how real Santa would do. When on platforming stages though, you can collect presents that can contain bonuses like extra lives, hit points or hidden elves, but they can also contain bombs or additional enemies. So opening them is something you should decide based on how well you do or don't in the game. Every now and then you get to grab a cup of hot cocoa and it turns you into an evil version of yourself for a little while, and then you're impervious to all incoming damage. You will also face bosses from time to time in the form of the 4 main villains I've spoke about before. They're not very difficult though, so you don't have to prepare for them as you would in most other games. Days Before Christmas is a bit odd, but generally speaking pretty fun Xmas themed platformer, definitely interesting enough to check out. 2000's The Grinch was a tie-in to a movie of the same title starring Jim Carrey, and as most tie-ins go, this one too followed a typical suit of failing to deliver. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. The game takes place in Whoville, and your task playing as titular Grinch and his dog Max, to which you can switch to at any point, is to make sure that the Christmas in 2000 does not happen. As we all remember very well, Christmas in 2000 did happen, the presents were delivered, drinks were drunk and it was all fine. But you, my dear viewer, have a unique chance to change the past, and change the course of time for it to be ever remembered as Failmas 2000 and not Christmas 2000. So, you have to freely platform your way around the 4 huge stages, breaking presents, messing with the mail and constructing constructing new and more ingenious and creative contraptions used as means for distraction or traversal. You are quote-unquote attacked by various enemies that try to stop you. Small boys, for instance, will run up to you and hold your legs, so you'll need to shake them off, kinda like Taylor Swift does. Older kids throw snowballs at you, policemen need sneaking around without being caught, and there's many more of them, all unique. So keeping the weaponry, gadgets, creative enemies and 3D gameplay in mind, Grinch should work, right? It should, but somehow it really does not. It's hard to put the finger to what is the reason, but it gets tiresome fast and does not have much staying power. Looking at it now, it appears as it was made for kids, and yet some puzzles are overly complex, others are tedious, and overall, while quite novel, Grinch feels unbalanced and, dare I say it, annoying. At least for a full-priced game. If it was free, I'd change my mind about it in a heartbeat, but it wasn't. And all that I really have nothing to complain about are the graphics, sounds and music. And while they're not groundbreaking in any way, they're all decent and well-fitting. If you're an absolute 3D platformer nut, there's definitely stuff to like in Grinch. But if you play them occasionally, then there are now, and have been back then too, many much better games available. Any of the Spyro or Tomb Raider games are better than this. In the end, Grinch the game feels to me as if it was made by a literal Grinch. Just to take advantage of the holiday season, to lure the gamers with its colorful presentation and lovable, yeah, I said it, character, and then disappoint in the process, really spoiling the Christmas the way the protagonist of the game tried. It's not a secret that many of the Christmas-themed games are either pretty bad or average at best, or quickly put together versions of already existing IPs. I think we've one or two of these in this very video. It's not a given, but happens more often than you'd believe. Every now and then, however, between the filler-type games, a true gem shows up. It appears seemingly out of nowhere and shines brighter than anything else. And in this particular case, it's Santa Claus in Trouble for Windows PC. A full 3D action platformer that's actually really fun, be it Christmas-themed or not. Sure, it's definitely not the best game in the genre ever released, but it's very competent and freeware. So, being entirely free, its value/gameplay dollar ratio is through the roof. It's easily one of the best early 2000s 3D freeware platformers to ever grace the windows. And I mean it. Story-wise, as in most games covering the subject, Santa lost all the presents just before the Christmas. I know, right? He's either clearly having a problem of sorts, be it alcohol or drug related, or in the best case, a nemesis that prides himself on making Santa's life more difficult every single year. I would normally lean towards the latter, but in this particular case I know for a fact that Santa likes to party. And what he and elves do every year just before Christmas is short of mind-blowing. They leave all the local pubs in the area literally dry. Whatever. The presents are gone, and hangover or not, playing as Santa, you have to recover them all for the sake of children. So, you run around 10 rather large levels, jumping on static and mobile platforms and avoiding the abyss, various hazards and evil, bad, terrible creatures that all seem to be bent on killing you and stealing Christmas. Santa Claus in Trouble is not only what the title says, so in trouble, but also really cool. And other than a bit finicky mouse controls, I have literally nothing bad to say about it. And if you're to pick one original Christmas game from this video to play, I'd go for this one. How did you enjoy this? I hope to pick games that are not overly popular and well known so that we could have a fun little Christmas episode. Did I manage to do so? Let me know in the comments below. If you liked the video, hit those like and subscribe buttons below. Smash them if you have to, it helps more than you could ever know. Also, I would like to thank you and all my amazing Patreon and YouTube members for helping this channel keep going. And last but definitely not least, I would like to thank all the wonderful folks who record and upload playthroughs, let's plays and other retro-centric videos here on YouTube, because they help to preserve the games that would have otherwise been long forgotten. So thank you.